Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's episode of eSpeaks, we're looking at the world of virtual desktops, which is a growing sector in this era of cloud computing, work from home, and digital transformation. To discuss that, I'm joined by a major expert in the area. With me is Vadim Vladimirskiy, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Nerdio. Vadim, very good to have you with us today.
Great to be here, James. Thanks for having me on, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion.
All righty. So let's look at the virtual desktop market overall. I'd like to get a sense of what trends you see driving the market. Obviously, virtual desktop technology is not new. Employers have always wanted that technology. It seems like it's easier and cheaper, but maybe there's been some resistance. I mean, what trends do you see driving the market these days?
I mean, there's certainly some huge trends that I'll talk about. I mean, if we take a step back and look at the virtual desktop market, it has been sort of constrained maybe for several years or maybe even a couple of decades since I've been in the market. If you think about the cloud transformation, all the various workloads, servers, data, applications, email, websites, everything is moved to the cloud. And it seems like desktops aren't really making that shift, or certainly they haven't been fast enough as other workloads. So it's really the last major workload that IT uses that is yet to move to the cloud. And I think the reason for that has been some of the challenges, both technical and cost related and licensing related, that have been present in the virtual desktop space for many, many years now. And recently, Microsoft has really, doubled down and stepped up their kind of put the hat in the ring of doing desktop virtualization specifically in the cloud. And with the work from home and the remote work and work from anywhere and all whatever term you happen to use, with that trend really kicking up into higher gear over the last 2 years, we've seen tremendous amount of adoption. And I would say that's a pretty major trend that's driving up desktop virtualization, and most specifically desktop virtualization in the cloud, or as we call it, DaaS, desktop as a service.
Right. What was the move that Microsoft made in particular that helped the virtual desktop market?
Yeah. So if you think about Microsoft, they obviously are the company that made Windows, right? Windows is a huge component of their portfolio, and they for many, many years and continue to do so, work with OEMs and just selling lots of physical, selling copies of Windows for physical machines. Up until 2019, it was fairly challenging to get a desktop virtualized, from licensing perspective and from a technological standpoint. It was super complex and involved all sorts of specialized skills that were hard to come by. In 2019, Microsoft launched a product called WVD, or Windows Virtual Desktop, which was their first sort of foray into allowing customers to put virtual desktops using the Windows 10 operating system into the Azure cloud. They've renamed that product from Windows Virtual Desktop to Azure Virtual Desktop, and they've released another service called Windows 365. And Windows 365 is basically Windows in a cloud. So the message Microsoft is sending to the market, we, the makers of Windows, now believe that a cloud-delivered Windows desktop is a modern way to deliver IT, whereas that may not necessarily have been the case even 3 years ago.
Interesting. So they've definitely made some progress in that area, which makes sense because obviously Microsoft is very, very committed to the cloud these days. Yes. I'd like to get your sense also. I mean, any technology, including virtual desktops, is going to have some headaches and problems. Maybe it's a cost consideration. I mean, what's a common problem that you see the companies face with virtual desktops, and what advice would you give them?
Certainly. So, I think we can talk about the common problems that plague both on-premise virtual desktops and the cloud-based ones, and then maybe we can talk about the challenges in each of those two environments. So I would say whether in the cloud or on premises, there are some specialized skills that are needed to think about virtual desktops that a desktop administrator, someone who's managing an organization's endpoints, is not necessarily familiar with, right? So if you think about a physical machine, it's a one-to-one device. One user has one device, it's theirs, their profile and user state is always there in a consistent way. But when you deal with desktop virtualization, one of the ways to drive down the cost is by consolidating multiple users onto a single VM, which means that you now have to deal with things like user concurrency. When you have multiple people logging into the same VM, you have to deal with user profiles. So there's just quite a bit of technical complexity that makes it challenging. One of the ways that Microsoft helps solve that problem is with their Windows 365 product. They are reducing that level of complexity and making the virtual desktop behave very much like a physical desktop. So that is one way that's being addressed. The other challenges have to do more with being on premises. And this especially came to be very notable when you had the pandemic and a lot of companies had to send employees to work from home. And they already had a virtual desktop solution, but it was an on-premises solution that they now needed to scale, and they needed to scale it extremely quickly. And supply chain issues and all the other things that just make scaling physical on-premises infrastructure difficult were an issue very immediately, which is where cloud comes in and provides that level of scalability of desktops in the cloud.
Interesting. All right, let's talk about Nerdio, obviously the company that you co-founded, you're building. How does it address the needs of virtual desktop users? I mean, obviously there's plenty of virtual desktop solutions out there. What is the Nerdio advantage?
Certainly. So, Nerdio started out as a company that helped orchestrate the deployment and management of remote desktop services, which was the predecessor to Windows Virtual Desktop. And then as we were working with customers with that technology, Microsoft approached us to integrate their new upcoming release of Windows Virtual Desktop into our product. And what we do ultimately is we help customers deploy virtual desktops in an easier way, manage them in a very automated fashion, and probably most importantly for the cloud consumption world, we help turn all the dials automatically to make the cost per desktop be substantially lower than if you were just to go directly into the native cloud and put up a desktop there. And those are kind of our three pillars. We help with the simplification of deployment and management, the automation of the ongoing management process, and the cost optimization of that entire environment.
Interesting. All right. So it looks, I would say definitely there's a market for that. I think, companies want those services. What is your sense looking a few years out of the future of virtual desktops? I mean, obviously it seems like I'm somewhat surprised that the technology has not come further than it has already. What do you see, say 2 to 4 years out for virtual desktops?
I definitely see adoption has accelerated tremendously, again, supported by the work from home, work remotely trend. And, as we know, not all companies, if any companies, are going to be fully on site. They're going to have hybrid work scenarios. So I think that the desktop virtualization penetration, which is currently probably in a low, double digit or single digits, is likely going to grow pretty rapidly. It just it makes sense. If the operating system is designed to run in the cloud, there's just all the same reasons why we put email in the cloud and servers in the cloud and applications and data in the cloud really apply to desktops as well. But there's just tremendous amount of growth to be had to catch up to those other technologies which have already, made the shift or are in the process of making the shift.
Is there a prediction to give, like when is the desktop going to catch up with email and the other applications that already live in the cloud? Is that next year? Is that a couple years out?
I don't think it's next year. Probably not a couple of years out. And I'm not sure. Email. I would say that the percentage of email in the cloud is very high, right? I don't know the exact number, but I doubt it's less than 60%, 70%. It's just Google Suite and Microsoft 365 have taken over that market. But for desktops, it may get to 30, 40% over the next 5 years. And that would be a pretty significant amount of growth in this particular market. And Microsoft is really well positioned to be the leader to take advantage of that trend because of the two new technologies they've introduced. And because ultimately a virtual desktop is all about Windows, and Microsoft has Windows so well integrated into their ecosystem, it just positions them in a favorable way to really do well in this space as it grows.
Yeah, it seems like as Microsoft Azure grows, the virtual desktop will certainly grow with it. That almost seems inarguable. Uh, Vadim, fascinating stuff. It's going to be an interesting sector to watch. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.